Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful in oil country and around the world. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. Welcome, Bruce.
Hey David, how are you doing tonight?
Well, I was doing a little pretty good until the third period of that game. The
Mm-hmm.
Oilers, it was a close game from the start. They lost 3-2 in overtime to the Montreal Canadiens, if you don't yet know the score. Another loss to the Montreal Canadiens. A very disappointing loss because the Oilers gave away a 2-0 lead in the third period on some weak defensive play, some defensive mistakes. But it wasn't like there wasn't weak defensive play throughout that game, and the Oilers were lucky not to be down early in the game. There was a series of strong saves by Mike Smith. And it was also a frustrating game, Bruce. Frustrating because I thought the referees were particularly atrocious this game, missing calls on the Oilers. And I know that's going to sound like a Homer fan complaining, but I am a Homer fan complaining. Anyway, the slew foot on Draisaitl,
Oh man, you
that
gotta
was a
call that.
dangerous play. He could have been concussed on it. Who was it? Deneau reaches around him and
Mm-hmm.
gets his skate under his leg, and it's a clear slew foot, and they don't call it. There was a
Well, it was
hack.
obvious holding. If it wasn't even, I thought I didn't see the slew foot until I looked at it later. But it's obvious. Like Puljujärvi got called for holding for kind of tangling up with the guy,
Yeah,
and Deneau reached right over Draisaitl's shoulder and wrenched him back, and he stuck his leg out and he sent him flying onto the ice. Draisaitl's got the puck. There's no other players within like 300 feet on either side of these guys, and both referees are like, "Oh, I didn't see nothing." I mean, come on, that's just blatant,
uh, there was another trip
just
on
blatant.
Draisaitl. Another trip on Draisaitl that went
Mhm.
uncalled, an obvious trip. There was a total hack on Jesse Puljujärvi by Edmondson right in front of the refs. It should have been a call. It was an obvious call. And then there was you saw one.
Shea Weber chopped down McDavid when the Oilers already had a power play, and McDavid went around. Was trying to go around Weber, and Weber just chopped him in the ankles and sent McDavid flying. McDavid was yelling at the ref. Draisaitl was looking at the ref in disbelief. Louis was saying Draisaitl doesn't often refund the refs what he did after that one because it was just so. Anyway, homers be damned. I mean, that the power play did connect right after the trip that Weber tripped um, McDavid. They scored anyway. They were still on the 5-on-4, but it was the officiating was poor. I think we're very safe to say that, and I have a fair bit of video evidence to support these ones that we specifically been talking. And the Oilers got away with a couple too, although nothing near as blatant as those two.
No, there was games against Montreal where the other team didn't get, where the Leafs didn't get penalties early in the year. They didn't deserve any. This was just ridiculous, honestly, just ridiculous. All right, Bruce, this is our two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcast. What's your good thing?
One good thing is the first Oilers goal scored with 20 seconds to play in the first period, a period that they had been very seriously outplayed for most of it. And this was I'm gonna single out Jujar Cara for a tremendous play, tremendous sequence where Montreal was pressing deep in Edmonton territory, and Cara came back and he intercepted a pass from Tyler Toffoli, one of Montreal's most dangerous attackers, and uh, got possession of the puck in his own face-off circle, and he just put his head down and he barreled up the ice with it, exited the zone, entered the Montreal zone, uh, went in against Big Joel Edmondson, very, very good Montreal defenseman. And Edmondson stopped Cara briefly, but Cara first managed to chip the puck into the corner where his line mates could get to work on it. And they did, as Cara himself rolled off the check of Edmondson. First of all, Alex Chason won a battle in the corner, and Cara went back in, recovered the puck, took it around the net on his backhand, uh, 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 swung out in front and fired a cross crease backhand pass right onto the tape of Devon Shore for the tap in. And Shore's reaction to the goal tells you what a solo effort it was because, of course, he celebrated the goal and then he looked around. Oh, there you are. And he pointed right at Cara and he said, Effin' rights, great play. And And he was, I didn't disagree with the word he said, but you like those ones where the goal scorer singles out the primary playmaker and points to them as having created the goal, as happened in this case. And that was just a good 200-foot play by Cara with lots of physicality, but also some skill. He carried the puck most of those 200 feet, and then he made the killer pass.
One of Jujhar Khaira's nicest, best plays since he's been in the NHL. Like a true power forward move, holding off protecting the puck, shielding the puck.
Thanks, Joel Edmondson, top plus defender in the NHL. Wasn't nobody.
He's a fierce, effective hockey player, Joel Edmondson. I wish he was an Oiler.
Yeah, me too.
And Carey held him off, swooped around the net and set up shore. And it didn't look like it was a fluke setting up shore. It was just a really nice play. So good for Jujhar, and he's consistently played well. Bruce, my good thing is Darnell Nurse. I know that he was a culprit on the Montreal's second goal where he made a turnover in his own zone, and some people might also blame him for the overtime goal, but boy, Mike Smith probably should have had that overtime goal. It was an outside shot, and he just missed it. Great shot. But I don't blame Nurse for the overtime goal. I do. He was a culprit on that the Montreal second goal. Mm-hmm. But Bruce, he also, other than that, he kept a clean sheet. I mean, he was solid on defense. He was not part of the horror show in Edmonton's end, which mainly happened when Caleb Jones and Ethan Bear were on the ice. He and Tyson Barrie played a smart, quiet game. All game I was impressed with Nurse's very calm puck moving, puck handling. There was a sequence in the first period where he gets it under control and wheeled around in his own zone to gain time and space. It was just a really nice play, which he's been doing this year for the first time all the time. He hit Jesse Puljujärvi with a great stretch pass, which Puljujärvi turned into a breakaway. And then there was his goal, which, it's outside the home plate scoring area, so it's officially a grade B chance. But Darnell Nurse, Bruce, I'm starting to notice, has scored a lot of goals from that spot. He has developed, before our eyes, a howitzer. And when he gets that on net, and he's getting it on net a little bit more often because he's a little bit smarter with the puck in the offensive zone than he used to be. He's figuring it out. He's moving in. He's picking his spots better. And he just pounded that in. And he made a good goalie look bad. And it's not the first time that he's done this year. He's done it a number of times. So impressive from Darnell Nurse. I thought he had a good game. I would have given him an 8, but he did make that mistake. It was a turnover, and it did turn into the tying goal against. But other than that, he was strong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, other than that, it always reminds me of that old joke. Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how did you enjoy the play? Because it often occurs to a specifically tragic moment, like the tying goal in this game.
There's lots of turnovers in a game. Like, it wasn't even like that egregious in a way. Like, anyway.
Wow. Sure went in the slot and into the net and Harry. He did make, and it was a out of character play, where the in character play was the control play that you were talking about. And I particularly noticed that play that you talked about where he wheeled around. He did kind of a double spinorama in his own left face-off circle, and he was under all kinds of pressure, and Barrie sort of got it to Nurse when they were both under pressure, and Nurse did one spin and there was still a guy on him, and he did a second spin, and by the time he came out of that, Barrie was open in front of the net, and Nurse just laid it over there just as calm as you like, and Barrie walked it out. And the pressure was gone because of his skating ability and his ability to control the puck while he was doing it.
Bruce, what is your bad thing?
Well, I'm going to say I have to single out the performance of, and the bad thing is we're always critiquing that night's performance, not the player, not the person, its overall game. But tonight's performance by Zach Kassian was not good enough. I thought he was a passenger for about 90% of that game. Officially 0 shot attempts, 2 hits, And officially, when he was on the ice, the Oilers had one shot attempt to 12 by Montreal, with 0 shots on goal to 7, because his line couldn't get going. And a big part of the reason his line couldn't get going was because Zach didn't get going. And there was a time in the second period where there was this play where uh, Caleb Jones made a terrific sort of recovery play to get the puck and wheel it out of danger and get it over to Kassian just inside the blue line. And Kassian just sort of passed it sideways and didn't even get it over the line and coughed it back up in Edmonton's zone. And Jones had to make a second good play in a row to clean up Kassian's mess. But just not sort of really sort of seeing his top end skating. We're not seeing. I said to my wife at one point that Freddie Shero would hate this version of Zach Kassian because he's not taking the shortest route to the puck and he's not arriving in ill humor. So neither part of Fred Shero's equation. Now I'm not sure if Fred Shero was his coach. I suspect he would be playing a little bit differently. But the fact is that that's the Kassian that the Oilers need. And where was he?
I would sit him, Bruce, based on that game.
Close enough. Like
I gave him a 3. I was going to give him a 2, but it was 2 is atrocious. Maybe I should change that to a 2. He was bad in that game. It was a very weak performance. Unfortunately, it does kind of typify his play since he signed his new contract. If we're completely honest, I think he's got to. What is he doing during it? I mean, did he make a hustle play all night long? Just even one? Did he make a good play? He's not. It's really disappointing, Bruce. And
well, two body checks, and I remember one of them, and it was just kind of a rote hit on the guy in the corner that was, nothing, almost going through the motions. Now I can't remember specifically the other hit, but I certainly know he didn't blow anybody up, and I know he really didn't do anything particularly positive or indicated that he was particularly involved in the game. Just trying to play a control game, I guess. But one shot attempt for and 12 against is not a lot of control in my books.
It's funny. I'm listening to the Ken Dryden's audiobook of the game, which I read years ago. Such a if you've not read or listened to the audiobook, it's such a treat for a hockey fan, even if you don't know the 70s era very well. But Dryden talked about like the players you could count on every night, Lafleur and Gainey on his great team that won 4 Stanley Cups in a row. But he said there was these other players that are kind of up and down.
Right.
And, he's Shutt and Mario Tremblay and Robinson and players like that. And you didn't know what you're going to get each game from them. Here's the problem, though, Bruce. Kassian has been that kind of player in the past, kind of up and down, and you don't know what kind of. But every now and then you got this incredible player who was fearsome and could make plays. But we're starting to get a fairly consistent, not very good Zach Kassian. Like a few up games would be a good idea at this point.
Okay.
And we're not seeing them. Like, honestly, the coach should send him a message. There's lots of other players to play. Too bad Dylan Holloway broke his finger. By the way, Brendan Gallagher broke his finger.
Did he again?
Yeah, he broke it. That's the report on Twitter right now.
Oh, man, 3rd time.
Yeah.
Poor bugger.
So Zach Kassian, we'll see what happens. Okay, Bruce, my bad thing is, do you have one final thought on that or no?
Carry on.
My bad thing is the pairing of Caleb Jones and Ethan Bear, who, if there was a 5-alarm chance around the Oilers net, you could just look up and you'd probably see Ethan Bear and Caleb Jones out there. They really struggled on defense. Ethan Bear struggled turning over the puck. And Jones, his game is just so erratic right now. I don't know what's going on. So the first issue, Bruce, comes right early in the first period, and I don't know how this stays out of the net. I had to watch it a number of times, but Bear allows the pass into the slot. Gaetan Haas gets beat in the slot on the pass. He's covering his man, but he doesn't cut off the pass. It goes over to who took that shot? Lakeinen, I think.
Yeah.
And somehow it stays out of the net. And I think Jones, who didn't stop Lakeinen from shooting, did stop the shot, or he and Smith together stopped the shot kind of miraculously. Then the puck, an even bigger miracle, it goes to Jesperi Kotkaniemi in the slot, and he absolutely misses the net, thankfully,
over the net
on the rebound. So that's and it doesn't get much better from there. Like it's just we next. Well, let's just go to there's a scramble play in the second, Bruce, where Jones puts it to Bear behind the net, and Bear, he tries to stop it with his skate. He does stop it with his skate, but in the pass back that he's going to make to Jones, he gets picked off and goes out front of the net. And then there's this mad scramble in front of the net where there's one grade A chance that Smith stops and a rebound, and then the puck's batting around, could have easily gone in. Finally, there's a chance at the side of the net that Jones stops. You go to the third period, and there's the goal against, which was kind of typical of what happened out there. Bear, he allows the pass into the slot, and Jones can't cover off big Josh Anderson. He gets overpowered in the slot by Anderson. Anderson posed a particular problem for those two defensemen in this game.
Perry and Anderson both did, and they both did on that goal. Perry overpowered Bear, and Anderson overpowered Jones pretty much, as I saw it. But didn't they just have the puck like just before that, and they weren't able to clear it? But I think they lost it along the boards, but I may have my sequences confused.
Shore was involved in it. He couldn't cut off the pass behind the net. There was a bit of a turnover play on the boards, and the puck gets moved quickly from one side of the rink behind the net to the other, and Bear can't cut off the pass, and Jones can't cut off the shot. It's a quick play, but that's how it is in the NHL. Then in the last minute of the third period, Anderson barrels down the wing, blows by Bear, and gets a heavy shot on net again. So it was just Ethan Bear has been playing better. This was out of character for him. He had been keeping a clean sheet in a number of games up until this, but this was five major mistakes on grade A chances against for Ethan Bear in one game, 4 for Caleb Jones. It was a very difficult and tough game for them, to the extent that I wouldn't be surprised. I think we'll see Lagesson for sure in the next game, and who knows, we might even see Evan Bouchard. Although Bear has been playing very well, it's more of an anomaly for him, and I don't think he should come out of the lineup because of it. I mean, Tyson Barrie didn't after his 7 major mistake on grade A chance fiasco recently. So, but not a good game for either of them.
No, not a good game for them as a pairing. And it might have Dave Tippett rethinking how does he do that, because on the one hand, he likes to give them the third pairing minutes. Not that, Montreal was winning the matchups using the last change to their advantage, or how, and they've got sort of 3 lines deep of pretty good players. And they, so even though Caleb Jones, he played only 11 minutes and 46 seconds tonight, similar to Saturday, like he had by far the fewest of the 6, and Tippett and Playfair are trying to hide him as much as they can. But they were out there early in the third period for that really game-turning goal, and from the Edmonton was on the back foot from there. And had just really taken the 2-0 lead late in the second, 10 seconds left in the second, after 20 seconds left in the first, and they're up 2-0. You think, let's just bring this one home. But nope, and that goal was a key part of it. I mean, obviously there was other goals, and Smith made in the last minute, 1 minute to play, who was it?
Anderson.
Anderson went right through Ethan Bear. And Smith made that save. I mean, if that one goes in, then we're even unhappier campers right now than we are. I'm not a very happy camper at this moment, I have to say.
At least they got the loser point. What do you make of Jones this year, Bruce?
Well, tonight I saw a number of excellent plays. Like, I see the potential in the guy. He made a few sort of real sort of A+, or certainly plus plays, where he got the puck and he moved it, and he did something. He did something positive with him, but his decisions on pinching and stuff, like his timing on pinches is not great, and he's he struggles in the heavy, in the trenches, and I'm not sure what the answer is to that. And when you have the number of smallish defensemen that the Oilers have, it's no wonder that in the last minute, sort of trying to sit on the 2-2 tie, Tippett had the same two defenders he'd have if he was sitting on a one-goal lead, namely Nurse and Larson, who are really the only two big defenders he's got.
Laugesson's big, but yeah, he wasn't in that game.
That wasn't,
You're
in the
right.
lineup tonight.
Yeah, which is why we see Lagesson, I think, so much, because I think he likes his size. But Lagesson was really struggling. Like all three of those Bakerfield, we've praised them a lot, and we put a lot of faith in them, and we both think they're good. All three of them are good players who can be.
You have high expectations, David, and
yes.
They're not quite achieving them on a every night basis yet. Let's put it that way.
They're in a tough run. Barrett, this was an anomaly for Barrett. He had been playing well, but Lagesson and Jones have been really struggling on defense, and those struggles didn't end for Caleb Jones. I keep hoping, that there's going to be. I feel like he needs a goal, maybe like something to lift his spirits and kind of bring his confidence level up. But on the other hand, most of his woes are coming at the defensive end. It's not the offensive stuff that's not there. He's making plays. It's just he's not doing the old Chris Russell in his own zone, covering off that goalie very well. And he's got a good example there. He should watch Russell play and model his defensive game on that player.
Russell had three giveaways of his own tonight, so it wasn't exactly a showcase effort on his part either.
Yeah, and he allowed a slot shot. It wasn't a great game from Russell. I love Larson. He not only gave that, was it Deneau? He not only gave him a face wash, he gave him a hair wash and pretty much a full body shower. He was so nasty to him on that after that whistle. I love Adam Larson this year, Bruce. He's fantastic. I saw a Buffalo Sabres fan, I think his name is Jeffrey Ade, joking that he'd love to see a Larson for Hall trade because that would work out for the Sabres. But
Larson has 3 goals and Hall has 2. I was in that conversation. I made that point. I mean,
the Oilers wouldn't trade.
Taylor Hall has 1 goal in 36 games.
Yeah, the Oilers wouldn't trade.
How's that even possible?
They wouldn't trade Adam Larson for Taylor Hall. I don't believe.
They need Adam Larson too bad at this point in time.
That's right.
Because,
Yeah, so that's right. Just the makeup of their team.
Mm-hmm.
All right, your number.
My number is 0. That's the grand total of goals scored by Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins in 5 games against Montreal Canadiens. 0 goals, 4 assists combined for those 3 stars. I mean, 2 obvious superstars, 2 leading scorers in the league with 2 points each in 5 games against Montreal. And surprise, surprise, the Oilers have 7 goals combined in those 5 games. They're having trouble scoring on these guys. But I can't. I'm a little disappointed that they didn't lift their games tonight. I thought tonight would be a game Oilers would come out and really want to take it to Montreal. It was 2-0 in the third period. Yeah, pound another one in. But I mean, McDavid, he played 28-38 tonight, just a ridiculous amount for a forward. He had 1 shot in the game, 1 shot on net. Nugent-Hopkins, he played 24 minutes, 4.5 of them on the power play, 1 second on the penalty kill. So it's not like he's playing defense all night. 1 shot, 3 that missed the net, 1 that hit the target. Like, he's got to work on the sights. Like, he's missing good looks. He's getting them, and then he misses the net.
Yeah.
And Draisaitl, at least he had like 3 shots on net and 6 shot attempts. I actually thought Draisaitl had a strong game, but I wasn't too thrilled with the work of the 97, 93, 13, 9. Like they got sniffs here and there, but McDavid was on the ice for 20 minutes at 5-on-5, and the Oilers got outshot 11-5. 5 shots by the team, with and even strength in a period that the captain was on the ice, and it needs to be better. And I'm not sure what he needs to do to break through, but tonight I will say bad ice. I think that hampered a lot of players tonight, and the higher skill the players is, the more of the bad ice is. It's pretty hard to make a smooth pass when the puck is bouncing all damn night. But somewhere in there you got to make a play. Um,
Yeah, I hear you. And so my bad thing, my number, excuse me, is 3.
mhm.
So Nugent Hopkins has played now 384 even strength, 5-on-5, excuse me, 5-on-5 minutes with Connor McDavid this year. Ryan Nugent Hopkins has scored 3 goals off Connor McDavid feeds. Bruce,
Wow.
I made this point. This is like I'm going to broken record time, but seriously, there's no chemistry on that top line. And you just brought up the fact Nuge doesn't hit the net. Well, he's not a sniper, and casting him as the sniper on that line is miscasting him. He is not a sniper. That's how he's set up. That's how he's configured. What he is a great give and go player who works really well with other great give and go players. That's why he worked so well with Taylor Hall and Jordan Eberle for a time in Edmonton. Great give and go threesome in the offensive zone, had some success. Connor McDavid isn't a give and go player. He is a player who dominates the puck and who should dominate the puck. And you should pick line mates for him based on that. Guys who don't need the puck, who is a one-time shooter. Find that player if you can. And if you can't, go out and get him. But it's not Nugent Hopkins. He's brilliant. He was brilliant last year with Draisaitl and Yamamoto. I still cannot fathom why that line isn't together for a run of games. The second line had a strong game last game, Draisaitl's line with Kahun and Yamamoto. They've now and then shown some chemistry. It hasn't been as strange a combination as the top line seems to be turning out to be. But I don't think Kahun is really up to it in the end. He just had another quiet game. And I just think the coach at this point, it really does behoove him to experiment, change things around. Why he hasn't tried Kahun, for instance, with McDavid is baffling to me. Why he doesn't reunite the dynamite line is baffling to me. So I'm getting very frustrated. I have been frustrated all year. They've had success, so you only want to say so much. And they've had success sometimes with McDavid and Draisaitl together. Yamamoto. I mean, if that works, that's fine. But then where's your second line? So I don't know. I just think Tippett is, and I hold him completely responsible as the head coach. If he's got to convince some players to go with different line mates, then that's his job to do that. And if that's part of the problem, that so and so wants to play with so and so, but not the other guy. Well, as the coach, he's got to figure out how to sell these things and do what's best for the team. Because I don't think these particular 2 lines are best for the team.
Yeah, well, 3 shots or 3 goals in 384 minutes, like that's over 6 hours of hockey. So that's somewhere a little bit below 0.5 goals per 60. And that's an expensive combination of hockey players. They're paying that first line $20 million. They need production out of those guys. And Nugent Hopkins is, 3 goals, and like you'd expect something over 1 goal per 60 minutes out of that combination. I think that's not unreasonable, and maybe quite a bit more, but it's just not clicking for whatever reason.
You might expect 3 goals in one game now and then where they're clicking.
Yeah.
And those are the 3 goals where McDavid has set up Nugent Hopkins.
Right. No, I understand.
So it's not like Nugent might have scored a different one. But Bruce, they've only together in those 384 minutes, they're 19 goals for and 19 goals against. They're just sawing it off. And these are their 2 best. This is Connor McDavid at even strength in the prime of his career.
19 periods, 19 for, 19 against.
Find some line mates for him, and it ain't Nuge. Like, it's just not working out. So figure it out. Like, I don't think it works, and I think the numbers back that up. There's other numbers that strongly suggest that the dynamite line is worth trying. Maybe they were on a big torrid hot streak last year.
Of course they were.
But let's make the opposition stop them at least, so we know whether it was a mirage or the real deal. I have a bet it's a little bit of a real deal, that they're not like a 75% goals for percentage line like they were last year, but they might be 66%. So, and that's what you need when you have an $8.5 million player and a $6 million player together on the same line. So get that on the same line, and I think that they know that they need to find something, because they can't have Draisaitl and McDavid together on the same line to win in the playoffs. So Where's the experimentation? Where's Tyler Benson and where's Cooper Marody getting a shot on one of the top lines? They just seem to be set with this idea that these are the top two lines. They have been since day one of the season, and they are sticking to them. They keep going. They just keep coming back to them. Well, don't do it anymore. It doesn't work.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe when they waived Joachim Nygaard the other day, they're making room for a call-up of Tyler Benson. Or maybe they're waiting to see what happens at the deadline, and if nothing happens, then they call up Tyler Benson. But for now, they have a little bit of room on the roster, but you could make a case they need wingers. I mean, tonight's game, David, it started exactly like this. I never went back and watched it. I mean, if you've got this game on tape, watch the first shift. The puck goes into Edmonton territory. It goes to Dominic Cahoon along the boards. He turns it over. Montreal tries to bring the puck into the middle of the ice. Leon Draisaitl swoops in, steals the puck back for Edmonton, makes a good outlet pass to Cara Yamamoto inside the Oilers' blue line. He turns it over. So we've had one good play by Draisaitl, totally wiped out by two turnovers by his line mates, and the game isn't 30 seconds old. And I'm going, come on, guys, you got to support him a little better than that.
Yeah, well, we hear from Elliot Friedman and Chris Stevenson on their 31 Thoughts podcast that the Oilers aren't going to be making a big trade at the deadline. And when you think about it, when you look at draft picks, do the Oilers have draft picks to give away? No. Do they have cap space that they can use in a trade? No. So when you think about it, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that there is much Edmonton could do. They'd have to kind of jump through some hoops, but they do have a lot of young defensemen. They could move one of the young defensemen. They could make a choice, make a decision on him, and see if a team will bite for that. There's that might work. Because Bruce, I do think I think maybe Benson or Marody it would be interesting to at least see them get a chance on one of those top lines. But I'm not sure that's the answer, and it might be trading for a player. And again, it doesn't have to be a superstar player. It just has to be a really smart player, kind of like Alex Chason, but a little bit faster. And that's what you're looking for. And to fit on that spot, because you just need someone like that to play with Connor McDavid. The Oilers' version of Chris Kunitz.
Yeah, well, that's the player they need.
That's the player they need. And just so how old was he when he went to Pittsburgh, Bruce? He wasn't in the prime of his career.
He was well along, but the criminally underrated Chris Kunitz, who was he took a lot of criticism, especially when he made Team Canada ahead of Taylor Hall at one time. But Chris Kunitz, it didn't matter how sparkling his underlying numbers were. It was all because of Crosby. At least that was the narrative. Well, he's playing with Crosby. Of course, he's got good numbers, but he was such a. I watched him pretty closely. He was absolutely terrific support player, and in puck battles, and he could score. He could get involved in the offense, but he could, mind the store at the back end, and that was a big part of what he did. And that's. I'm still not sure we've got that forward for Connor McDavid.
I don't think that we have. I think actually Jesse Puljujärvi has a bit of chemistry with McDavid. Mm-hmm. I've liked that combination because Puljujärvi's good on the forecheck and he's fairly responsible defensively. And he's not really great himself carrying the puck right now. It's not like he needs the puck to dominate. I think Kunitz was 28 or 29 when that trade was made, and he had a number of good seasons. What did he? I just want to see. Pittsburgh acquires Chris Kunitz. Let's see what they gave up for him.
Ryan Whitney, wasn't it? Ryan Whitney.
Is that right? Maybe you're right.
Yeah, he was a 5th overall draft choice. He went out there to Anaheim, then he came on to Edmonton.
You're right. Ryan Whitney. So they gave up.
Was it 1-for-1?
They gave up a top 4 NHL D-man to get him.
Yeah, and
Chris Kunitz and prospect Eric Tangradi in exchange for puck-moving defenseman Ryan Whitney.
As I understand it, Kunitz I think he was already locked up to a sort of club friendly deal. It was like 3.5 million or something, and he was very comfortably worth it. Anyway, Nuge with McDavid, 7 points in 384 minutes. That's like just under 1.1 points per 60. 1.1. I mean,
Oh,
with Connor McDavid, right? I mean, it's not like
does
it's just not
the
good
line
enough.
tool shows that
Well, this
natural
is
selection?
Nugent Hopkins' teammates,
Oh, okay.
individual counts playing with teammates. And with McDavid, 384, 7 points. With Puljujärvi, 328, 6 points. You know, and it's just not piling in the points with anybody at even strength. It's just gone cold, and he stayed cold.
So Pittsburgh had to make a pretty big move there to get Kunitz.
Oh yeah, they paid.
Wasn't a nothing move. That was a serious trade, giving up a very good player in Ryan Whitney. So maybe that's what it's going to take for the Oilers, and maybe this is the year they should do it. Doesn't sound like they are going to do it, but maybe. I mean, Connor McDavid is what, 24?
He is.
He's in the prime of his career,
He is.
and they have a chance to win the Stanley Cup. Maybe they should do something big. Anyway,
Yeah,
we'll
I'm
leave it
not
at that.
sure they're there yet for the Stanley Cup, David. I mean, man, oh man. I mean, this is twice in 10 days. You and I have been here bemoaning a blown 2-goal lead on the road in Toronto and then Montreal. I mean, these are games that you got to put them away. And there's flaws. There's still flaws on this team, and
They've
there's
been
not obvious answers to a couple of them. And
they've been lucky to get the points they've been getting in recent games. I think this is a really down time. In some ways, it's the worst period of play, I think, all year, including the first games of the year. Like they're getting consistently, they sawed off the chances tonight pretty
Mhm.
much. Not at even strength though. And they were outchanced and outshot considerably at even strength. And I so it is a downtime, and you want to be careful not to make too much of that when things aren't going well. And maybe if they just reunite the dynamite line, they can reignite this team suddenly. Wouldn't
Well,
be that big of a shock, but we'll see. They don't seem to have any desire to do so. So we'll see what happens.
fifth game in a row they got outshot, and 4 of the 5 they've been outshot by significant margin. Like nine or more shots. Tonight it was 32-23. The Calgary game was close, and the 4 road games have all been fairly, sort of 30-20 kind of thing. Toronto, the 3 in Toronto, and now this one. And they've been playing a lot of road games. In fact, the way the schedule is shaken down, the Oilers could be playing one home game in a 4-week span because, of course, they lost this game to Vancouver on Saturday. They're probably going to lose the 2 home games against Vancouver next week. And we should mention to listeners that may not have heard this, that today there was a big change announced to the immediately upcoming schedule. Instead of playing this week Wednesday and Friday in Ottawa and then coming home to a potential week off because of Vancouver, they're now playing Wednesday and Thursday in Ottawa. And then they're going on to play Calgary in Calgary on Saturday night. And what they've done there is they've moved forward the game from the last weekend of the season to April 10th. And the idea, obviously, is that one of Edmonton or Calgary will play an extra game against Vancouver in that last weekend of the season where Vancouver had a night off, and it was Edmonton Calgary on Friday and then Edmonton or Calgary Vancouver, I think, on Saturday. So they moved that game. They moved the May 7th game forward to this Saturday night, April the 10th. And apparently this was Hockey Night in Canada clearing their throat, because last Saturday when the Vancouver Edmonton game got postponed, Hockey Night in Canada went dark. They didn't have a late game at all. And this week with Vancouver at Calgary almost certainly postponed, they were looking at another dark date, and they said, hey, give us a game. So they moved Edmonton in. Exactly what the WHA did, in the last couple of years, or all of its history really, but the last couple of years that I was a season ticket holder, that I had the wad of tickets in advance, and they kept changing. When the Indianapolis Racers, for instance, dropped out of the league, Well, all the Indianapolis tickets, instead of being no good, the Oilers still played home games on almost all of those nights, but they played against a different team that was a sort of substitute road team, and that's exactly what they're doing here. They're borrowing secrets from the Rebel League.
Well, this is a TV show, Bruce, that we're watching. It's not,
Absolutely.
There's no fans. So the TV show comes first. You got to have something on the prime time when people want to watch a game. And I have to say, I really missed it on the weekend. I really missed Oilers. And anyway, I've been a little bit down and negative tonight. And I think I've been pretty positive, though, even in the first games of the year about this team. But I'm not feeling it right now. And I don't.
No, I don't think they are either.
They got to make some changes, Bruce. They got to figure some stuff out, and it's not by going back to the same old, same old. So I don't think that's going to work at this point. But
they've had 4 games postponed in the last week. They've been running around from pillar to post. This was their 3rd trip to Montreal in 2 weeks, the furthest destination in the North Division. They played three trips there. Spent basically a whole week there, and they played 2 games.
They got to go back.
Postponed. They still got to go back and play 2 more. And that grind, and I'm with you that they're not feeling it, but I'm also fairly confident that they will again feel it someday. Like, this isn't the true Edmonton Oilers. That the truth lies somewhere in the middle, from the one that's been riding high and the team that's struggling to get by. That's right now. I think they'll snap out of this at some point.
All right, let's leave it there on that high note, Bruce.
Well, yeah, one more note to listeners. The Wednesday game against Ottawa starts at 3:00 in the afternoon, Mountain Time. This is not a weekend afternoon. This is a Wednesday afternoon, 3:00 game, Edmonton at Ottawa. So be prepared.
I guess they didn't want to put that one on TV.
They do. It's actually a double header, but both games are in the East. So the second game is Montreal and Toronto at 5:30.
Oh, there you go.
The game is Edmonton at Ottawa at 3. They did the same thing when Calgary played an afternoon game at Ottawa here a couple of weeks ago, also on a Wednesday, which is Sportsnet's national day, and they like to have double headers as often as they can. And so that's how they do it when both games are in the East. They have one super early.
All right. Well, I look forward to the game on Wednesday. Bruce, thanks for talking today.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.